Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha the Messiah, his Son. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah, our mighty one, is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments of Yahuwah. Do you see his name right here in the Hebrew script? And we're starting today from Deuteronomy chapter 8. Now we're going to start accelerating our studies. Our time is short, brothers and sisters. There's no time for procrastination. We need to feed this spiritual man and prepare our people for the kingdom. Some of us will not pay attention. Some of us will be too busy. But for those who will stick with this and learn every single thing that they can and apply it to their lives, you are preparing for the kingdom. This is why I chose Deuteronomy starting from chapter 5, because the Israelites were in the wilderness. They were being prepared by Yahuwah so that they can possess the land. And that's what I'm here to do for you today, to prepare you to go to possess the land. Now, a little while ago, I said that the time is short. That's why we're going to accelerate this program. Did you notice the blood moon that came out Sunday evening? I think I put it on the comment board to go look at it. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, the Mighty One said he created those orbs in the sky, the sun and the moon, for signs, for days, for seasons, for years. That blood moon is a sign. Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, if you read from 12 to the end, you'll find out about the blood moon. And it's in other places also, Joel and in Acts of the Apostles. But he tells you that when this blood moon, this red moon, this moon that looks like it's turned to blood shows up, that there shall be great earthquakes. That intrigued me. I said, let me check this out. It didn't take me no more than a couple of seconds to go into Google, and before I typed it in, it already came up. 6 earthquakes here in America alone. 4.7 on the Richter scale. How did this happen? Well, with all of the studies that I had about the new moon, to learn everything I could about it so that I can train you, not with just book smarts, but also with observations, I learned something. That the moon and its gravitational pull keeps the earth spinning on its axis perfectly. When it comes time for that blood moon, the moon is moving too close to the earth, so it throws off the earth's axis just a little bit. It tilts just a little bit. And what happens then? You get earthquakes. Here's another thing. What are you experiencing right now if you're in the United States of America? Extreme cold weather. The whole United States is blanketed with this cold weather. Tell me something. Do you think that this is a coincidence? It tells you also that the stars are going to fall from the sky and come down to the earth. Now, when I thought of that, I said, if that was to happen, we would be in trouble, wouldn't we? I mean, everything would just go haywire if you have some meteorites coming out of Earth. We're not talking about these little small things. We're talking about stars, he said. But once you read Revelation chapter 6 from 12 straight on through to the end, and you see exactly what he said is going to happen, then you go to Revelation chapter 7 and start reading from chapter 1, you're going to find something out. There's an angel of the earth. He ascended, not descended, ascended up into the heavens and told the other angels who were on the four corners of the earth, ready to pour out these bowls of wrath, he told them to wait until I've sealed in the foreheads the remnant, that last 144,000 of those who in the time of trouble, the time of this tribulation, that shall gravitate towards Yahuwah. So maybe that's why we didn't see the stars fall from the sky. Isn't that amazing? We are close to the end. Here's another thing. Is it a coincidence that this blood moon came out at the 400-year point, the beginning of 2019? Is that a coincidence? The next blood moon is going to be 2021. And then after that, you will not see another blood moon for 50 years. So we have this short space of time here, right? When all of the prophecies have lined up and have come together, it heralds the end, the return of our brother, our Mashiach, our Messiah to the earth. Do you think that the people, the enlightened ones, those who actually read and study this book, you think they don't know this? You think they're not preparing for this? If they are preparing for this judgment time, so should you. You are the object of his affections and his gathering. This whole thing has been on hold, is put on hold, just to wait for you. This is why we're going through this exercise and accelerating it. Let's begin. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 1 to 2. Verse 1. And all the commandments which I commanded thee this day shall ye observe to do. He keeps saying this. How is it that the church and the Europeans came to the conclusion that you don't have to do this, when he keeps saying the same thing over and over again? When the Messiah said the same thing over and over again. The apostles said the same thing over and over again. But yet they've come to the conclusion that it's been abolished because Jesus died. That ye may live. What is the opposite of life? Death. And multiply. And go in and possess the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers. This is why we're going through this. So that you can go in to possess the land. Verse 2. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahuwah thy mighty one led thee these 40 years in the wilderness. Why did he do that, Father? To humble you. And to prove you. To know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldst keep these commandments or no. This is all a test. The children of Israel came out of the house of bondage, out of the land of Egypt, went to the mountain and immediately sinned against Yahuwah, created a calf, and then tried to name that calf after Yahuwah. Said, this is the God that brought us out of Egypt. It's just like these Israelite brothers who is naming that picture Yahweh Shai. He will destroy you for this. They had to wander in the wilderness 40 years because of that, so that they can be humbled and to prove them. How many years are we here in America? 400. 10 times 40. Why so much? Because our heads got so big after we received all of the promises, we totally forgot about Yahuwah and went whoring after other gods. So we need 10 times the humbling of the children of Israel that came out of Egypt. Verse 3, and he humbled thee. Yes, he did. And suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know. And you know that's the definition of manna. What is it? That's what they said. What is this substance that we're eating? That he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahuwah doth man live. Do you know this physical man? He's fed very well, isn't he? Most of us are fat because we're overeating. But the spiritual man is starving. He looks like someone in a famine-torn land. Picture that in your mind. That's your spiritual man. Why is that? Because we don't feed him. We have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for the physical man. But the spiritual man, do we just feed him only on the Sabbath day? We need to change that. Verse 4, thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. How can that be? Their raiment did not become tattered. They didn't have any swelling of the feet, no feet pain. 40 years wandering in the desert? How could that be? Verse 5, thou shalt also consider in thine heart that, as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahuwah thy mighty one chasteneth thee. This is why you're here in America 400 years. You're here to be humbled, not to be exalted, not to go running around talking about the white man, and that you're going to kill him and subject him, and that you're going to have him as slaves, and you're going to put him on a chain, and you're going to walk him like a dog. He did this to humble you. Listen, he only chasteneth or chastise those whom he loved. What? That's why you're going through this 400-year period. Because he loves you. He wants to burn all of this rebellious behavior out of you. Everything that has happened to you is because of you. You cannot blame the Europeans. It's because of your rebellion. Verse 6. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahuwah thy mighty one, to walk in his ways and fear him. Why does he keep saying this? Repeatedly. Because we are his children. Keyword, children. Don't you have to repeat yourself over and over again to your children? He's repeating himself to us because he knows that we're going to do something. What's that, Brother David? Forget. Verse 7. For Yahuwah thy mighty one bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of waters, of fountains and depths that spring out of the valleys and the hills. Fresh springs, brothers and sisters. Water like you've never tasted before. Not the stuff that you're drinking today. Healing waters. Verse 8. A land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates. A land of oil, olive, and honey. This is what true riches is, not that money stuff you're looking for. Even here, if you've acquired land, you still don't own it. You're paying taxes on it, aren't you? If you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come and take it, which means you don't own it. All you do is lease it. Verse 9. A land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it. A land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. All of the resources are right there, in abundance, waiting for you. Verse 10. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless Yahuwah thy mighty one for the good land which he had given thee. Don't forget to bless him. He is the one who has given it to you. Verse 11. Beware that thou forget not Yahuwah thy mighty one, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Here we go again. Why is he saying it again? Because he knows that once you get to a point that you have everything that you need, you're going to forget about him. Don't you forget. That's why in the kingdom, from one new moon to another and from one Sabbath to another, all flesh is going to have to come before him so that you don't forget. Verse 12. Lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses and dwelt therein. Verse 13. And when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied. Verse 14. Then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget Yahuwah thy mighty one, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Verse 15. Who led thee through the great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions and drought, where there was no water? Who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint? Do you see what happened to our ancestors? The Father gave them all of these things, and their heads got big. They were lifted up. They forgot who brought them out. They began to see or to make an idea in their heads that they acquired this on their own. Verse 16. Listen to the question. Who fed you in the wilderness with, what is it, manna, which thy fathers didn't know what it was, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. This is your latter end, brothers and sisters. This is our example of what to do and what not to do. Don't you forget. Verse 17. And thou shalt say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand have gotten me this wealth. Don't you do that. Verse 18. but thou shalt remember. If he's telling you to remember, it's obvious he knows that you are going to forget. Yahuwah thy mighty one, we forgot him. We didn't even know his name until recently. For it is he that giveth thee the power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. Who gave you that power? Yahuwah. In all things give thanks to Yahuwah. Verse 19. And it shall be, if thou do it all forget Yahuwah thy mighty one, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall surely perish. Do you think he's lying? He said, surely you'll be wiped off the face of the earth. Put away that Yahweh stuff. Stop dealing with these brothers who are calling themselves the Holy Ghost and that they are the Son of the Mighty One. Brothers, sisters, leave the camps. Leave them quickly. Our Mighty One is coming. I know we want fellowship. It is too dangerous to go to these places. These places have been set up to deceive you. Remember, there's always the lie right alongside the truth. Because we don't study the truth, we don't know when they're coming in with the lie. This is what the fathers brought me here for, to show you their lies. Because I will testify against you this day, that if you walk after these other gods, Yahweh Shai and all of these people, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall surely perish. Verse 20. As the nations which Yahuwah destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient unto the voice of Yahuwah, your mighty one. Don't be a part of this destruction of the nations. They shall surely perish off the face of the earth. Everyone who does not bow down and serve us, they will perish, brothers and sisters. And you know that America, with all of this white supremacy, they're not going to bow down. They're not going to bow down to niggers. That's what they're going to say. These niggers? Have you ever watched these slave movies? My wife and I, we've watched every one that we could find. And at the end of them, you get so angry at the treatment that we receive by these Europeans. They're in denial about this. It never happened according to them. But what I'm going to tell you is this. The treatment that we receive by them is because of you, because of us, because of our ancestors. We've turned away from our mighty one. We forgot who he was. And we are suffering the consequences of it today. There's only one thing that you can do. Return. Keep his commandments. I'm going to end with this. If my people, who are called by my name, Yazrael, if they will just only humble, this is what he took us in the wilderness for, to humble us. This is what the 400 years is for, to humble us and pray and seek his face with your heart, with your mind, with your soul. Then and only then will you hear from heaven. He will forgive your sins and heal the land. The land is awaiting its healing. It's waiting for who? For you. You are that chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should bring forth the praises of him who has brought you out of darkness into his marvelous light. The earth is moaning and groaning for our return. Let us prepare ourselves for the kingdom. Continue to chapter 9. Shalom.